George involved in the scope of
Public hearing or not.
property.
I'd like to call the Mentor City Council meeting for May 20th, 2025 to order. Our invocation tonight will be given by Councilperson Krieger.
Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. Julie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Krieger?
Here.
Mr. Byrne?
Here.
Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Donovan?
Here.
Mrs. Dowling?
Here.
Mr. Freeman?
Here.
Mr. Kirschner?
He is excused this evening. Okay, moving on, approval of minutes. Council, you are in receipt of the May 6, 2025 work session.
So move. Second.
Second. Oh,
Julie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Krieger?
yes.
Mr. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Okay. Council, you're also in receipt of the May 6, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Okay. This evening, we have one public hearing, and public hearing procedures. Like to announce that the public hearing is now called to order and is being held pursuant to notice duly published and posted according to law. And Julie, we don't have an ordinance number, but this is the call up from the Planning Commission from 2 meetings ago. It pertains to a car wash that looks to locate at the site of the Boston Market on Mentor Avenue. So to begin with, I'm curious as to whether the applicant is here or not. Oh, the applicants are here. Okay. Before we get you, Robert, do you have anything you or Kathy would like to add?
Or
or
with Mr. Zeman?
Joe?
First, let's see if we can hear from one of the representatives of the applicant before the public hearing is called and the council hears from any individuals who want to speak in favor or against. I'd like to know whether or not you're requesting that those individuals be sworn in. Sure. Yes. Okay, that's an affirmative. So,
All right.
if anyone intends to speak relative to the conditional use permit, I'll just swear you in. It'll take a whopping 10 seconds.
All right.
No, sir, I do not, but I will defer to Mrs. Cantanzariti.
Good.
I'll just defer, if there's any questions after the applicant has spoken, I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the report.
Good. Okay, we want to make sure we do this the right way. So let's have the applicants come up and give us an explanation of what it is you're doing, want to do.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Majid Makhlouf. I am a partner with the law firm of Burns, Ochner, and Greenberger. I am here on behalf of the applicant. Actually, the client representative, Joe Bertucci, who's been dealing with the city repeatedly, very much wanted to be here tonight, but for unrelated reasons that could not be here tonight. So we are here in his place, but we wanted the council to know that he very much wanted to be here. It's not a sign of any disrespect. It's just he's been involved in every city meeting. Today there was no way to do it. We didn't have any control over the scheduling or the date of this meeting. I have with me today Jeff Plotz, who's the civil engineer on the matter. He's an engineer with Neff and Associates, and I also have with me Mr. Kevin Westbrooks with GPD Engineering. He is the traffic engineer for the project as well, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I do have a couple of comments that I just wanted to emphasize to the council, but I think it's best if I turn it quickly to Jeff to tell the council a little bit about the applicant and what they're trying to do here, and then I will highlight those points to the council. We are cognizant of the not, unregular way in which we are before the council, because the Planning Commission approved the conditional use, tabled the site plan application. We, in consideration and discussions based on the feedback from the Planning Commission, revised the site plan, submitted a site plan. The site plan is in front of you tonight, but it's not before the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission has not had a chance to consider it or give any opinion on the revised site plan. But at least we wanted to do as much of a presentation to you tonight, hear any concerns that the council may have, and we'll be happy to take it from there. And I'll turn it over to Jeff.
I'll swear the witnesses in. If you please raise your right hand. If you swear after me. Do you swear or affirm to testify to the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes. Really, what I've got to say is pretty much
Before you get started, if you could give us your name,
Oh.
address, please.
sorry, Jeff Plotz with Neff and Associates, 6405 York Road, Parma Heights, Ohio, 44130. Where I was going with that is that typically Joe is here and he speaks very directly to the operations of Clean Express, who they are as a company, what they do. I've been working with Clean Express since they've come to the Cleveland area. I've been part of all 15 locations they have in the area. So it kind of in his absence, I thought I'd at least give you a little rundown of Clean Express themselves, Express Wash Concepts, however we want to term it there. But they have over 100 locations throughout the East Coast, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. The biggest thing I want to tell you about Clean Express is that all they do is wash cars. This is all they do. They don't pump gas. They don't change oil. They don't do other things. This is all they do. So in this Cleveland market with 15 locations, they have their own dedicated maintenance staff just to the area. That's just their staff. They don't hire it out. It's just what they do. And so a lot of what we're here today is that because Clean Express believes that they can do it better than anybody else. It's why we're here. It's what they do. If you've seen their other locations, I know the other one they have in here in Mentor, a little unique because it's a reuse of a building, but it's a spectacular facility. They don't cut costs. They don't cut corners. It's a really top-notch car wash, if I can say so myself. I mean, they also, I'm sure if you've heard the Planning Commission talk, if you were there, they do a lot locally, hyper locally, as far as some charity work. They have a towel program and an air filter or air freshener program, where those dollars come directly to a hyper local charity. These guys are again, I'll say a class act, and everything they do is top notch. And I'm really, again, I would welcome you to go to any of the locations and kind of we can have that discussion. It's a great company. As far as the site plan goes, real quick, I know that we tossed the new site plan out just a couple days ago, and really that's in reaction to the feedback we got at planning. We got a lot of feedback about how the front aisle kind of worked has difficulty with the access to Mentor Avenue. What about queuing if it backs up? So we're hoping that, again, as Majid said, we're a little bit in a bind here, a little backwards about having a site plan that we're excited to go back to planning with. It's in front of you, but here tonight we're talking about the conditional use. So that's kind of all I have.
Kevin, did you want to say anything?
And Kevin's here to really discuss the traffic portion. We have a complete traffic study which he completed.
And just the points that I wanted to make sure that the council is aware of, because I think it's very easy to think of a car wash, and there's a lot of misconceptions sometimes in terms of how these things work and the old car washes and the new car washes, and it's really a very different model. It's a very different procedure and how it works. So the way that a Clean Express operates, 70-80% of the customers of Clean Express are members. They have unlimited membership, which means they can come as many times as they want, as often as they want, when they want. So it is the kind of car wash where if you're coming in and if there's a queue, there's a line happening, you're not going to go in because you can come back at any point. You don't have to wait in line or cause any traffic issues because you yourself don't want to wait. You'll just come a different time when it's available. Most of the traffic that's actually generated for the car wash, it's never a destination car wash. It's usually people using other commercial facilities in the area. They may be going to Walmart, and on the way they stop at this car wash or something like this. It's not, nobody's leaving their house specifically going, or I mean, rarely, if ever, anybody's leaving their house going specifically to this type of a car wash. As Jeff emphasized, there is no other procedure happening at this car wash other than washing cars. And even in washing cars, they don't do detailing. It's purely the tunnel and the vacuuming. So all the kind of operations at car washes that we may be familiar with that take the time, that may cause the backup, that may cause some of the delay, don't happen here because it literally is in and out. But a couple of very important points in terms of how that system works. If you think of it, in the old days when you go to a car wash, you're going in, you're dealing with a person, you're choosing which car wash you want to choose, this level, that level, that level. You're having to pay for it. All that time that happens in that kind of operation doesn't exist here because it's all pre-decided in the membership. So your membership already knows which car wash you're getting and your credit card has already been prepaid. So basically the way that it works is there's an RFID in your car. You come in, the gate opens, and then you go in the tunnel and you leave. So it is a much, much more efficient kind of operation than your traditional sort of, I don't mean old-fashioned, but the image of the car wash that we would sometimes have. Number two, the design of this car wash is there's 2 stacking lanes here that are available. A member can go into any of the stacking lanes, but one of them is exclusively dedicated to members. And again, remember, if you're a member, you just go in, the RFID, you walk in and out, you go in, the gate opens, you go in and out. So that is another advantage in terms of how the site works. And thirdly, because there are multiple locations, again, if you're going there and there's a pileup or anything, you just go somewhere else or you come a different time. You don't need to use it. So we really do not believe, I understand that there may be some traffic considerations, and hopefully the new site plan addresses those, and then Kevin is very happy to answer any of those questions. But I wanted to clarify some of the operations, how it's different than the typical car wash that may come to somebody's mind when they think of a car wash. Again, we understand the dichotomy that we're in with the revised site plan being before, it's here, but it's not before the Planning Commission. So we would understand if the council would prefer to table it until the Planning Commission has an opportunity to consider the site plans, so that we're, when we're back in front of you, you see the actual site plan, what we're doing. There are 2 separate votes. We're here only on the conditional use, not on the site plan. The site plan is back before the Planning Commission. But, I think we want to work with the city. We prefer not to stand on principle and just emphasize that they're 2 separate matters. If the council would feel more comfortable having the site plan review finished by the Planning Commission, that is something that we would understand as well. And we're happy to answer any questions and hear any concerns that you have to work with the city to make this project a reality. Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? 'Cause this is the public hearing portion, where next I'm going to ask for people who would want to speak for or against it to come up. And then the discussion will conclude under the new business portion. So I'm going to move along with this portion, and I'm going to ask if there are anybody here in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this CUP. Hearing and seeing none, is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of this CUP? Also hearing none. So at this point, I am going to close the public hearing on this item, and we will address it again under new business. So moving on, tabled legislation, we have none. New legislation, ordinance number 25-0-043.
An ordinance revising appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malinowski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Members of council, this ordinance does 2 things. It revises the current year appropriations in 2 different funds. Firstly, Our general fund has an increase of $106,807, representing the necessary funds to purchase the mobile stage in the amount of $33,067, and also a recreation center tennis court reflective ceiling purchase for $73,740. And the second fund is the street fund, an increase of $300,000 to refill the salt dome. And I would recommend approval. Thank you.
Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 25-0-043 has been approved. Next is ordinance number 25-0-044.
An ordinance accepting and authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to Kevin Tuggle, DBA TNS Contracting, for the purchase and installation of an irrigation pump station and enclosure at Blackbrook Golf Course and declaring an emergency.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kaminsky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. One bid was received on May 2nd, 2025 for Phase 2 of the irrigation system replacement project. And this is to install the irrigation pump station and the enclosure at Blackbrook Golf Course. The pump station was purchased earlier this year, and this contract is to dig the pump station well, attach the intake, connect the pump station, and build the enclosure. The Parks and Recreation Department is recommending TNS Contracting, whose bid of $217,000 and had met all the requirements and has experience working with golf course irrigation systems. Thank you.
Okay. Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. Okay, ordinance number 25-0-044 has been approved. Next is ordinance number 25-0-045.
An ordinance accepting and authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to Sports Interiors, Inc. for the purchase and installation of a reflective ceiling for the tennis courts at the Recreation Center and declaring an emergency.
Robert, you're on.
Mr. Kaminsky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. The Parks and Recreation Department received one bid on May 2nd, 2025 for the Mentor Recreation Center tennis court reflective ceiling. And we've spoke about this numerous times. It is actually going to be covering the ceiling and all the old holes and everything that would happen with the tennis balls and baseballs, similar to exactly what we did in the fitness center. We are recommending the purchase and the installation of this reflective ceiling from Sports Interiors, as they were the only bidder. Sports Interiors of Gurnee, Illinois, whose company had met all requirements and has experience doing this with many municipalities. It is therefore recommended a contract of $203,726 be awarded. Thank you.
Okay. Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. All right, ordinance number 25-0-045 has been approved. Moving right along, we have ordinance number 25-0-046.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with the city of Mentor-on-the-Lake for the 2025 asphalt road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Swigger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Since 2016, the City of Mentor-on-the-Lake has been participating in the City of Mentor's annual road repair program to benefit from favorable contract pricing, and this year is no exception. Within our $1 million 2025 asphalt road repair program is alternate one, which is approximately $60,000 worth of paving within Mentor on the Lake. As in past years, Mentor on the Lake will deposit funds with us to cover the cost of their work. They will also provide their own inspection and will verify installed quantities for payment. This legislation establishes the agreement between both cities to allow the work to go forward. Mentor on the Lake has recently passed legislation approving this agreement. It is recommended that this legislation be approved to meet the scheduled final completion date of August 29th of this year. Thank you.
All right, council.
Move to suspend. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
All right, ordinance number 25-0-046 has been approved. Next is ordinance number 25-0-047.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a participation agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation relative to the purchase of rock salt and declaring an emergency.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Vernon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler, members of council. This is an opportunity for us to work with the Ohio Department of Transportation to accept bids for road salt. Municipalities in 63 Ohio counties participate in this program that helps lower the cost for the city of Mentor. And I think this program has served us well over the years, so I recommend its approval.
Right. Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 25-0-047 has been approved. Next is resolution number 25-R-108.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare and submit a grant application to the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city will be seeking some grant funding through the NOACA Coordinating Agency for the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program to update 34 of the city's 100 signals. This will be phase one of 3 phases of updating all of our signals municipal-wide. The idea is to provide a better traffic experience for our residents and those who visit, and we recommend approval. Thank you.
I have a question. How long is it going to take before we know if this is approved and these things start to happen?
I believe the grant application is due towards the end of June, probably by the end of the year, and it'll be a year or two before we
all
can
the
get started.
improvements are-
Yes,
Before all
sir.
the money's spent from the grant?
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
All right, resolution number 25-R-108 has been approved. Next is resolution number 25-R-109.
A resolution referring to the Municipal Planning Commission the question of amendments to the codified ordinances related to short-term rentals.
Joe, I think this one gets sent to you first.
Yes, Mr. President, members of council, this stemmed from your work session on short-term rentals of a few weeks ago. The feedback was to send it to the Planning Commission pursuant to charter and code to allow them to do some work in conjunction with the administration and what other additional resources they may choose to see if they can't come back with some recommendations. Should they be permitted? If so, where, how many, and under what terms and conditions? So this is a necessary first step to begin that process.
Okay, great. Council?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
All right.
For passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
All right, resolution number 25-R-109 has been approved. Lastly, we have resolution number 25-R-110.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare and submit a grant application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works Program requesting financial assistance to construct a kayak launch extension at the Mentor Lagoons Marina and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution provides us with the authorization to make application to the annual Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works program for the purchase of a 15,200 square foot kayak launch and dock extension at the Mentor Marina. And we ask for your approval. Thank you.
And so this would probably be the same time frame as the other resolution?
This we would anticipate to be sooner, earlier next year. We are, I think, out to bid currently, or did we award?
Not yet.
We have a picnic shelter that we are building with NatureWorks money that will be built this year that we were awarded last year. So typically, it's the subsequent year that
So
project
then
moves
would
forward.
we see this in place by the beginning of the kayaking season next year?
Yes, it'll be in place by the kayak season next year. I actually jumped the gun when I was answering Mr. Fowler's question. The pavilion has already been bid out. We've already met with the contractor, and that's actually going to be ordered here pretty shortly. So we'll be able to see that this summer.
Wow, great things going on up there. Perfect. Council?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes. Okay, resolution number 25-R-110 has been approved. Second readings, we have none. Third readings, none. Managers report, something entertaining, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Mentor Police Department is urging drivers to buckle up during the United States Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's National Click It or Ticket High Visibility Enforcement effort. This year's National Seatbelt Campaign, which coincides with Memorial Day holiday, runs from May 19th through June 1st. The City of Mentor's annual Memorial Day ceremony will take place Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. at the Mentor Municipal Cemetery. The ceremony will be preceded by a solemn procession that steps off at 9:30 from the Memorial Middle School at 8979 Mentor Avenue and proceeds north to the cemetery, arriving at the Mentor Memorial Promenade. Members of City Council, administration, county, and state elected officials, and other veterans and civic groups will be in attendance. The ceremony will be recorded in its entirety and broadcast on the Mentor Channel, as well as shared on social media for those who are unable to attend. On May 13th, the Engineering Department sent letters to Zone 1F, located in the southeast corner of the city, for the sidewalk repair program. The letters inform the residents that the city will begin inspecting the sidewalk in the area. Roughly 620 residents were notified. A second letter will be sent later this summer to notify residents of any repairs necessary. And lastly, we have two new businesses. Atrium Medical Group, Inc., at 5966 Heisley Road, Suite 104, and Lake Ridge Wealth Management at 7470 Center Street. We thank them for their investment in our community and wish them great success. And that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Clerk's correspondence.
President,
Yes.
real quick. Mr. Fowler,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Malinowski, 7 more days. He has 7 more days on his job. How long you been here, sir?
29 years, plus a few days after the tax filing deadline of April 15th, so
Good for
a
you.
little over 20.
Well, we're going to have you back for more formal, we're going to call it party in the first meeting of June, but congratulations on a fine career. You've done an excellent job over the years. All of us enjoy working with you in your department. How many years have you guys won your most prestigious award now? be modest.
That predates me. I believe we hit 40. Wow. 40 is a good number to stop at
No,
sometimes.
there you go. There you go. I agree. But thank you for everything you've done. Far cry from years ago when we had problems keeping the lights on, about 3 million unencumbered, and now we're about 80 million unencumbered. So it's very nice. Great job.
I'm gonna clap for that.
Enjoy your last 7 days.
All right, clerk's correspondence, Julie.
Council is in receipt of the Mentor Municipal Court month-end report for April of 2025, and that is all.
All right, commission committee reports. Council, you are in receipt of the meeting minutes of the Council of Economic Development Committee, May 2nd, 2025. Tree Commission, January 8, 2025, February 8, 2025, and March 12, 2025. Community Arts Commission, April 3rd, 2025, and the Board of Building and Zoning Appeals from April 8th, 2025. Old business.
Mr. President,
Yes.
we all know Mr. Wassam and the Mentor Safety Village and all the great work that's gone into the village. Lauren Vernon's worked hand in hand with them, and they were here a couple of meetings ago. I ran into Ron and his lovely wife, and we were discussing how the village was coming along. And they've raised $30,000. We've given them $30,000, but to do it right, looks like they're going to need about another $30,000. And I know Lauren and our mentor departments have been helping all that they can, including parks and everybody else. But I think it'd be a great effort for the amount of kids that go through there. My kids still remember to this day, they were in 3rd grade at the time, going through there, and the amount of people going through there to authorize an additional $30,000 for the Mentor Safety Village.
Second.
I think that we probably would want to wait for our city manager to return and maybe get a deeper dive into this, because we just authorized $30,000.
Well, I mean, they're not going to just take $30,000 to spend the money. They're working with the city manager. They're working with Lauren Vernon and his department, and it goes for a great cause.
Mr. President, if I may, sir. To your point, we did appropriate an additional 30,000, and I would assume, I'm making an assumption here, that we would need to appropriate that through an ordinance at the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think we could put it to a vote tonight. Joe, is there anything you'd like to say?
A supplemental appropriation is necessary.
All right, so we would need an ordinance to vote on.
At the next meeting?
Work on that with the city
I'd
manager.
assume so, yeah.
Discuss that.
Whenever it's ready for action, the administration could initiate it via an ordinance, obviously somewhat normal. I think, I can't recall the last meeting where there wasn't some appropriations ordinance, but I didn't mean that negatively, Mr. Malinowski.
So, I guess, explain to me a little bit more what you're saying. So why does this have to be?
You didn't budget and appropriate for it, so there's no funds budgeted and appropriated for that extra $30,000. It's got to come from somewhere, and it hasn't been budgeted and appropriated.
Last
so.
summer, we spent almost $30,000 on council conference room. That wasn't budgeted and appropriated. So where'd that money come from?
Came from general appropriations.
Okay, so why can't this come from general appropriations?
I don't think it's being used for general appropriations. It's being used for the specific safety tone. In other words, it's going to a third party.
But it's still city property when we're working with the schools and
Yeah,
with the kids.
they're operating there under lease. So now you want to do it cleanly. I understand to move it along and stuff like that.
I just don't
but
want to
it
hold the
should be-
project up, is what I'm saying, because it
Well, I didn't-
sounded like it was very,
Well,
getting to the point where,
To that point, I don't know if the
Finishing.
administration's reviewed the project to see whether or not it's something that, may cause some issues, as indicated with the city's facility. To the extent they're doing some modifications out there that may cause future problems, it requires some review, I would think. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means, as with anything, you have to do some due diligence.
I think it's 2 weeks we'd hold up on it, and that way we could get an idea what the money's for.
Mr. Vernon, can you talk to Mr. Wassam and find out exactly what they need. I mean, he gave me kind of a little laundry list, but you know more than anybody else.
I will.
That way get back to council administration so we could possibly move this forward, hopefully move this forward at the next meeting.
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Any other old business? Okay, under new business, if the applicants would like to come back up. You want them back up?
Absolutely, I'll have to swear in anyone who thinks of it. Let's identify anyone that council may ask questions of. So, let me pick it up here.
All right.
So,
Mr. President, could you have the law director explain why the law director is swearing them in or swore them in?
Correct. Revised Code Chapter 2506 requires for any administrative appeals, a de novo review could be had in the Common Pleas Court on a number of bases. One, whether or not testimony was taken not under oath, whether or not an applicant had an opportunity to cross-examine witnesses, present evidence, for example. And further, it requires findings of fact and conclusions of law to support the administrative agency's decision. So, and that was the reason. Often it's waived, but it's perfectly fine if applicants decide not to waive it. It takes 10 seconds, as indicated, to swear in witnesses. So these are procedural safeguards for the applicant, for the city as well, though, again, typically we waive them just out of custom. So what we would do then is make sure that the record's being properly identified. Can't be 100% sure, but I'm going to assume that the council may have questions from Engineer Swigger, from Director Cantanzarini, perhaps Fire Chief Zach, and Police Chief Gunch. I don't know if Mr. Fowler, well, why don't we have Acting City Manager Fowler sworn in as well? So if the individual identified could please raise your right hands and swear after me. Do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Now, before council may hear from anyone else, let's make sure they're properly sworn as well. For Mr. McClure's benefit, I'm sorry, I may be mispronouncing your name, sir. Is it McClough?
McCloof, and actually, that's fine. Just to be clear, we're not trying to be difficult. I've actually never been given the option to waive.
You've ever been to Lakewood?
It's sort of standard. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. It's always everybody's sworn in. So I didn't even think about it in terms of waiver and unwaiver.
Lakewood won't even let the lawyers say anything without swearing them in.
I know I'm under Rule 11, so I'm the one who gets away without being
We're not that bad, so thank you, sir. By way of background as well, council has your client's application and all the submissions. They've got also the site plan that was recently submitted, I think yesterday or the day before. They've got a copy of the staff report dated for the May 1st meeting, and they've got a copy of a determination letter issued by the Planning Commission's clerk dated May 2nd. There's no transcript or anything of that nature relative to anything that took place in front of the Planning Commission. And of course, if you have any other documents or anything you want to introduce, I'm not objecting to anything. Just bring it on and make it part of the record. So now, part of that as well is Mr. McCloof may have any questions and follow-up to anything that anyone may say. They're afforded that opportunity to ask some follow-up questions as well. So, and these are important procedural safeguards, very, very normal. We're a little informal in Mentor, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing things in a more formal method. That's everyone's prerogative. Thank you. By way of background then, if you want a little bit of an introduction. So the Planning Commission obviously made a determination to issue the conditional use permit. Pursuant to the Code of Ordinances, 2 or more members may, we call it up, but they'll ask that it be referred to the City Council. The City's Council determination then is final pursuant to our code. And obviously there's judicial reviews that can happen after that. So your vote tonight is the vote. If you affirm by majority vote the decision of the Planning Commission, then that's the end of that. Now, some of you were on the Planning Commission, so the relevant law may be familiar to you, but I think it's worthwhile to go over as well. So the standards for issuance of a conditional use permit are contained in our code at 1135.04. I'll just read them through so that everyone understands the context and as well as the relevancy of what you may hear. First, to consider whether the request will be in harmony with or adversely affect the use of neighboring properties, whether it will adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, whether it will change the character of the neighborhood, will be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property, is in accord with the purpose and intent of this chapter, that being the zoning code, and the comprehensive plan of the city, and complies with any adopted policies related to such uses. And if, after hearing all of the facts, the members of the council determine that it does not meet the above criteria, then pursuant to code, the request is to be denied. So with that, I think we've gotten anything foundational out of the way.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Not at all.
Now that we've got all the legalities out of the way, it was myself and two other members of council who called this up. And I'd like to start by saying I have the greatest respect for Clean Express. You guys do a great job. You guys are a great car wash. But this is the wrong place for it. This is arguably our most heavily traveled area of the city. In a moment or two, Ante is going to put up pictures from last Saturday around 1 p.m. Traffic just locks in that area. We've got a car wash to the east of where you propose to go, and traffic regularly backs out onto the road. Blocks that Heisley, Chillicothe, Menor Avenue area right through the intersection. The pictures that Ante is going to share with you were taken by a resident who, he said it took him 3 light cycles to get through that intersection because of the traffic being backed up. And it's not just the car wash. It's the fact that businesses in that area, Kohl's, Lowe's, Trader Joe's, University Hospital, Menor Campus, all the retailers at Creekside Commons, the Target, the Walmart, the Myers, this is a heavily traveled area. Now, to have a car wash there that you don't have a curb cut of your own, you're depending on easements onto and off of that site, which your site is less than an acre. When it backs up, it's coming out onto Menor Avenue, and it's going to lock up traffic in the westbound direction for sure. You're going to have cars that are going to be trying to access your site. It goes crazy there. So it's just the wrong site for a car wash. If something happens where Walmart decides to move, I don't know if your easements are going to exist. One of the problematic things that I heard when I was watching the Planning Commission was a suggestion that traffic go north from your site where the Sola Salons is, and then down a private roadway out onto Heisley. That roadway, which is in pretty bad condition as it is now, has potholes in it, is owned by the commercial sites there. One of them is Heisley Center. I think the other one is Marvell. So pushing your traffic onto somebody else's roadway that somebody else has to maintain to get out to Heisley, that's not the best option. So it's like I say, you guys are a great car wash. This just isn't the place for it. And this area is my #1 complaint that I get from my residents is the traffic that backs up down Chillicothe past the restaurant there, Mean Mugs, and the traffic that locks up on Menor Avenue. And I think you guys are going to exacerbate that and make it worse. So I would love it if you found someplace else, not there. That's my reason for initiating this call-up.
I'd invite both, actually, the civil engineer and the traffic engineer to address that. But I would like to remind council of a number of things. You do have a site that the property owner has a right to use. The use that's being proposed here is in accordance with the zoning. Yes, it's a conditional use, but it's one of the permitted, conditionally permitted uses. So when there is a concern about traffic or anything of that nature, you can't have that consideration from a vacant site versus this use. You have to think of it from a site that is permitted as a matter, from a use that is permitted as a matter of right, which some of which can have more intensive traffic considerations than this use. So I think I would just remind whether it was Boston Market or whatever it is, that is a developable site. That is a site that the property owner has a constitutional right to use. Number two, in terms of easements, by definition, they run with the land. So no matter what happens, meaning that they are perpetual, and those easements would be guaranteed, and we would have no problem if the city council wanted to put a condition that the law director gets to review that easement. That is fine with us. It's going to be recorded.
Do you have those easements?
I don't know that we have them here tonight because we're here on the conditional use, not on the site plan. But we can have those if that's a condition that the city would like to impose. That's perfectly fine with us.
But do you have them?
Jeff, yeah.
All right.
Like not physically with me.
No, I know.
But yeah, the approval for them, you mean? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So Clean Express has worked with
Do you want to come
Walmart.
to the mic?
They've worked with Walmart and Speedway to get the current easements on that property reworked. And so that's been part of the negotiation, why we've taken a little longer to get to Planning Commission, because part of that discussion was happening. But yes, that's been completed.
Thank you.
But I would really plead with council to think through this, because again, it's, what is a use that's permitted as a matter of right, what kind of traffic it will generate versus this. The only traffic report that exists in the record is the traffic report prepared by Kevin Westbrooks in support of this application. But Mr. Councilman, I'll give you my example. I live in Independence. I am a member of Clean Express. The closest one to me is on Broadview Road in Parma, but I work in Beechwood. And the only time I ever use it is when my way to Meyer, I would stop there. And if there's any holdup, and it never, ever, ever gets anywhere close to the street. But if there is any delay, even then I don't wait on it, because the next morning on my way to Beechwood, I can just stop in Garfield Heights, and my membership will allow me to use any of those. So this site, I don't know what the image that some of the council members may have with respect to the kind of traffic that's generated from this site, but it is already there. It's not generating new traffic. The traffic is already going to Walmart. It's going to another location. It just goes, the number one indicator whether the car will go into the car wash is if the car in front of you had their signal turned to go into that car wash, then you think, oh, I'm going to go after them. It sort of reminds you to go into the car wash. And in terms of any conditions that were placed by the Planning Commission, recommended by staff, we had agreed to all those conditions, and the revised site plan hopefully addresses any of those issues. Kevin, I don't know if you'd like to add anything with respect to traffic.
If I could point the finger at Kathy Cantor-Zeding. For the record, what is it, Joe, that we're asking? You know this area well.
Well, in terms of trip generation compared to, uses that are permitted as of right, and it seemed as though, and I'm not necessarily asking all the questions, that's for the council to do, but there was indication then in the May 2nd determination letter, the condition that the Planning Commission had indicated about trying to shut the place down if stacking should occur, some type of temporary traffic signs. So there was quite a lot there, and I think the president's question basically is, can you walk us through relative to what the trip generation is relative to uses that are permitted as of right? And I think secondarily, there's a car wash down the street which has some well, I don't know to what extent you have personal knowledge of that, but and then obviously the applicants will have an opportunity to follow up as well. But
It's stipulation number 1 of the 3 stipulations that state that this site temporarily closes down when traffic is backed up out of there. It's the same thing that we did with Zappies. And my interpretation is Zappies doesn't work that good, that close down the line,
Same conditions.
cars still sit out there on the road. And then it's blocked. So I look at stipulation number 1, and I'm like, we're setting ourselves up for the same problem on the other side of Heisley, on Manor Avenue. And it's, ooh.
So the
Kathy,
same
help me.
stipulations were put on the other Clean Express as well.
Yeah.
So we've gotten this,
We've learned something here about car washes.
how many stack lanes are in this?
Well, I think that's, if I may, and I realize the formality of the process, but maybe if I can make the statement and the director confirms if my statement is correct or not. I think there are two very critical distinctions between this site and Zappies. And again, my job here, nothing wrong with, I don't mean anything versus Zappies, but my understanding is they have one stacking lane here, we have 2 stacking lanes, and number 2, they do detailing at that site, we don't do any detailing here. I'm not I don't know, somebody can confirm that, but that's my understanding of two
Kathy,
critical
can I-
differences.
Can I have you speak next?
Yeah, that is correct. There is one lane that goes back. I can't give you offhand the number of cars it holds, but it is one lane. They also have detailing. I take that route every day, so I understand what the concerns are. I have experienced and witnessed the car wash utilize the A-frame and put a temporary sign up. I've seen it happen. It does work some of the time, and then there are some people that just flat out ignore it. So that you have things that you can't control, which are the actions of others. Just to your question, I guess, I'm not going to speak to the trip generation. I will certainly defer to our city engineer on that, but we did rely on the conditions that we've applied in other instances. We did certainly cater it somewhat to this particular site. I think the most important part of item number 1 is that the Planning Commission reserves continuing jurisdiction on the conditions related to the stacking. And if they were to find that it was a problem, they could call it back up. And they could call it back, and they could ask to reevaluate the site plan. So I think that's the main purpose of number 1. And then these were the suggested items to give some immediate relief to some of the concerns that are brought up in at least the site that's just east of here with the Zappies Car Wash. So that was the main premise behind this, was just that it has been applied in other situations. And to the applicant's point, it was applied in their other location on Lakeshore, which is also a pretty busy intersection. So that was the premise behind the conditions, if that answers your question. But anything regarding the trip generation, I'll defer to the city engineer on the logic on that and how that's evaluated.
Thank you, Kathy. Dave?
Trip generation, I'll ask Mr. Westbrooks to speak directly to the numbers if you're looking at peak hour numbers. They are presented as less than the previous use of the site. The Boston Market location generated less traffic in the PM peak hour than this car wash would generate on a normal day. However, the issues that we have at the other car wash are not on, I would say, typical days. Typical days, they operate fine, and I would say typical days are days that normal weather days. But what we see is the system break down typically after good weather days, after a string of bad weather days. So basically, you have a run on the car wash. We see it during the PM hours the most. So we have an issue of proximity to Heisley Road that will not change. It's actually closer to Heisley Road than the Zappies Car Wash. The price point was a big issue at Zappies. I mean, it's very affordable and has created a lot of interest and creates a lot of volume of traffic when the conditions are right. But there are days of the week where there are no problems out there. But when the conditions exist, there are problems.
I always estimated that Zappies problem to be 6 days in the wintertime, usually a Saturday. It's when the sun shines after there's been road salt in the previous week.
Very, very true. And we do notice that because of on these days that have these conditions, the traffic slows down in the corridor, so we don't get the same amount of traffic through the Heisley intersection per cycle, so at Chillicothe. So we see a compounding effect that occurs based on just traffic slowing, not necessarily stopping, but slowing as well.
Right. Okay. Counsel?
President, I guess, how many, you have double lane? Double stacking?
Correct.
How many cars can you stack?
24.
And I don't know what the site plan, is it coming in off of Menor Avenue, stacking around the back?
Yeah, you come in Menor,
So
it's
that's
a
the
long,
new site plan which you have in front of you.
Okay,
I can count them for you. The old one
I
was
had
24, but
I had 24, I
It's
counted.
24.
still,
Okay.
yes. So you have 24 on
You've got to
site.
speak into the microphone.
You have 24 on site within, just in the stacking lane. With the revised plan, knowing that the intention is not to stack cars in the access road that they share with Speedway or the access road they share with Walmart, you've got room for a heck of a lot more before you would impact Menor Avenue. But the intention is not to queue it up in there. If they had to do the situation where they bring out the sign, it would be when they reach the end of the queue on their property. It would not be before they hit Menor Avenue. But if for some reason they see, it's getting full, someone goes out there and a few more cars have pulled in, they're got really great distance before they would hit Menor Avenue. You could put another probably 8 to 10 vehicles before you would hit Menor Avenue, but their plan is to shut it off if it would happen to reach the edge of their parking, their property.
This is, if I may, just sort of, this is the point that I wanted to emphasize to council, is I plead with you to just sort of consider this, the fact that you have two separate stacking lanes, one of which is exclusively dedicated to members, who there is no interaction with humans for them to enter in terms of they're not paying for they're not selecting the car wash, they're not paying for it. It's literally, they just drive in, the gate opens, and they go in. And before any stacking comes into the street, you have to go through the easement area. So you have Walmart and Speedway, two private businesses that their livelihood exists on traffic being able to access them. If they've perceived any issues with our use, which affects them before it hits the street, they would not give us the easement. So they understand the business well enough because they partner with other car washes in other locations, and they felt comfortable enough to be able to give us the easement. So before it even hits the street, their own traffic would be impacted, and they felt comfortable enough to be able to provide the easements.
Mr. President, I've never seen cars at Walmart that far over, to be honest with you. It's a huge lot. And you're telling me that Walmart's okay with the use of people driving around their property?
Jeff can speak to it better, but my understanding is yes.
Yeah, I mean, they've worked with Walmart and Speedway directly. It's been, in the open as to what our use is, and that negotiation over the easement has continued, knowing that we're a clean express.
This is a very, sorry, this is a very typical, I think, the modern world that's, when any shopping center that you design lately, the out parcels is almost becoming one of the modern car washes. So the retailers are becoming very used to work, again, I emphasize, the modern car washes, no detailing. The RFID system, the unlimited membership to come in. But that's becoming a standard use so you'd have them co-locate with Myers, with Giant Eagles, with Walmart. It's becoming more of you see it more and more often as the modern shopping center.
I guess I'll ask, you have a revised plan, but what do you think helped you with this revised plan with traffic? What
let the
do you
civil engineer
think made
speak
you
to it
more
directly.
confident? And why wouldn't you put that plan in originally? Why would you revise it to, why wouldn't you do the best plan you possibly could, I guess is my question, for traffic flow?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, I mean, I'll be honest, I think the other one had the flow that we anticipated.
Okay.
I think we thought it would be okay. I don't think Clean Express has the issue. They think they're fine. But I think that in trying to react, and this is also okay to them. So this would be our second choice, but still within, what they're willing to accept. And They have no issue with the traffic exiting further away from the intersection. I mean, that helps everybody. So I think it was maybe a little bit of a discussion, and I think that we put our best for Clean Express forward at first, and now that with some discussion, I think that we presented a second option, which certainly is acceptable to Clean Express, and I think that the discussion we had got us to this point. Is that kind of where?
Yeah, I guess I'll say too that I'm not completely up on the roads, the street, the easements, who owns what? Who owns the front piece in front of Boston Market? Would that be yours, or?
The whole parcel is
The whole
is
parcel,
ours.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the surrounding area has no problem with you coming in there?
What do you mean by surrounding area? We have-
Walmart,
Correct.
gas station, the gas
Correct.
station on the
That's where the
corner.
easement's between.
Yeah. On Heisley, how would you'd have to only have a right-in on Heisley? Is that, there's a spot there where people can come through?
We don't have any, I mean, we don't have any direct
You
connection
don't
to
have,
Heisley.
okay.
So any connection to Heisley is existing.
Yeah, so your road would be, your entrance would be between Boston Market and the Get-Go, is that? What is that gas station right there?
Speedway.
No, the other side. Walmart's.
Oh, we have a Walmart to the west and a, this one? This is Walmart gas station.
That would be your main entrance?
Yeah, you have the Walmart gas station on the west, we'll call it, and the Speedway to the east.
I guess at one time there was a Wishbone there, Kathy, and, yeah, pork chop, and that was a right out only. Is that still in place? Do you know? Bad question.
No, it is not in place.
Okay.
We discovered that at the meeting as we looked at some past aerials and discussed that with the city engineer. We indicated that we would want to restore that.
And you guys have that information that they would want to restore that?
It's not their property, so it would have to
Oh,
be
okay.
restored by Walmart.
Oh, Walmart would have to restore that, okay, all right. You sound confident that you're not gonna have any traffic out in the street, very confident. So did Zappy's though. The double stacking, I think Zappy's may have at least 24 cars in a single line, at least, coming out. They hold that many, but, all right, that's all I really have.
Mr. President?
I think sorry.
Just one question. On these easements, what if Walmart moves? What happens to the easement then?
The easement is an instrument that gives you a property right that runs with the land. So if Walmart moves, whoever comes after Walmart would take the property subject to that easement. And that would be, and we're happy if the council would make it a condition that the law director review the easement and be comfortable with respect to that. That is a condition that's perfectly fine with us. But the easement is not dependent. It's granted by the current property owner, but it would bind any successors to that easement. So anybody would come there would take it subject to that easement. And again, because I've dealt with this in many other locations in Fairlawn, in Worcester, in Brooklyn, I just, there is a difference between a single stacking lane, because where the delay happens is the user who is not a member. So you're stopping there. There's a process. You're having to pick which car wash you want to get. You have to pay for it. There's a transaction happening at the site. So when you have a single lane and you have the member and the non-member in the same lane, you're causing the delays even for the members because there's only a single lane to be in. When you have two lanes and one of them is exclusively for the members, they're zapping through without any delay, and only the non-members would use the other lane.
Well, if the non-members are using that lane and members are using their lane, but what happens when there's a congestion where, let's say, a non-member ends up in that other lane? Or the membership lane's full and the member decides, well, there's space in the non-member lane. He's gonna be allowed to use that lane, correct?
There are staff there that.
So it could be congestion.
I would say the issues is I think we're speaking out of experience with other sites in terms of, this is, as Jeff, I think, mentioned the number of locations that that they have. This is not the first location. I think this rarely is ever a problem. I mean, I can only speak anecdotally to what I experienced, but the one in Parma, I would argue Parma is not a sort of a, Broadview Road is one of the busiest roads. You're talking a road that goes Parma, Broadview Heights, Seven Hills. You know, it's almost at the intersection of multiple jurisdictions, very heavy commercial traffic. I personally use that Clean Express all the time, and I have never once, and I'm there almost daily on that street, seen any cars piling up all the way to the road. It just doesn't, because of the way that the system is designed, it doesn't happen. You may have, what happens is I may be wanting to go in and I see all the way up front there's a pile up, and I was like, I don't need for this wait, I'll come some other time. But it really, I think from actual usage in other sites, there's a comfort level, which is why the applicant is comfortable that this is not going to be an issue where it's a concern. And I think somebody with the sophistication of a Walmart feeling comfortable to give the easement, knowing that they would be okay with it because they've experienced it in other locations as well.
So I'd like to follow up on what Councilman Krieger was just talking about. This new plan, I didn't see a bypass lane in there. Bypass lane been eliminated on this?
There's actually two. So it's the emergency kind of relief here, we'll call it, on either side, both the west and the east.
Well, once you're in that lane, though, you're kind of stuck.
Well, until you get to one of those areas where you can get out.
That's, well,
I mean, that's what most washes are like that. I mean, fast food is like that. If you're in the lane, you're in the lane. I mean, it's, hopefully there's an area to get out. But if the one closest to wash is there, honestly, if the wash were to break down, what do you do with all those cars? Well, you start using the relief so you can get cars out of the queue and out of the wash. And so there's a secondary one even here, which goes to the east.
all right, Council, any other questions?
Mr. President? Just a statement. I do utilize the Express Car Wash on Lakeshore Boulevard. And actually, I probably do differ a little. I don't live in Mentor-on-the-Lake, but that is a destination for me to use for a car wash. So I don't know that everybody doesn't necessarily consider a car wash a destination. I do. And I go through. And it's nowhere near the level of traffic. And it operates well. I mean, I have to admit, but it does get a little testy at times at the stop sign coming out of Sheets and people pulling in off Lake Shore and kids on bicycles. So it can get a little bit dicey. But that's a completely different creature. I guess I'm not quite sure if you are going westbound at a busy time on Route 20. I think everybody knows that you have to start way back getting into that center lane to think about making that left turn onto Heisley. Not even talking about going in anyplace else. You have to commit early on because you won't be able to get over when you get close to it. I know there was discussion about the pork chop and the right in and the right out. So if you have people stop waiting to turn in, you've got all that westbound traffic coming also. So to make that turn in there, I don't see how it is not going to be a logjam there. I mean, I just can't see it. And we talked about Zappies and how it works with putting the barricades up, and I think everybody knows that people take advantage of a neighboring drugstore, and the cars on Saturdays will go over and sit there and park there and wait to turn out. So it's not always a perfectly compatible situation for neighboring property owners either, and it's a little bit different situation, but the left-hand turn, if you're going westbound, I mean, when you get to Heisley, you have the light, but what, there.
President? I just need a clarification. So a car going westbound,
I think you mean
Eastbound,
yeah, because you're,
Yeah.
It's going.
I change it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's going eastbound where you'll have a problem turning in, not westbound.
Right, because
go
you
right
have
in.
to
Yeah.
commit so
Okay,
far
yeah.
back.
All right.
which a lot of traffic does when they're turning into the speedway.
Yeah, I was confused on the going westbound part, because if you're
it-
going westbound, you could roll right into the car wash. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, the right,
Right.
and right in and right out is another option. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Mr. President, just a couple questions for the administration. So, has there been any analysis as to whether this location is actually going to pull traffic actually away from Zappies and make the situation better there? Because I can't, I mean, do we think this is going to actually increase demand overall, and so we're just having more people come in? Or is with this competition, is there any analysis that this actually is going to pull folks? Or you don't know?
I mean, the answer is we don't really know, right?
Okay.
But I mean, I think that we could say is that the users are the users. We're not bringing people from, towns far and wide to come here. So the users you have in your city are generally going to be your users for these washes.
Okay.
So if we're going to operate, yes, it generally means you're going to bring that from somewhere else.
Okay. And then, the new site plan has not been contemplated by the Planning Commission, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
We
so-
just received it, yeah.
So we are going to vote what is being contemplated. We're going to vote without that being considered by the Planning Commission as to whether this is, conditional use permit's going to be granted or not? Is that what's being,
You're voting on the use,
on the use?
just the use, not the site plan.
Well, what I'm saying is that the concerns here are as that the traffic is going to be problematic. The traffic study that's been, the only one that's been presented said it isn't, correct? And the engineer doesn't have any reason or basis to believe that study is incorrect?
But it's based on a typical day, not
Okay.
on the days that we experience these issues.
And then I guess my question for the law director is does it make any sense, or can it be a situation where, which has been suggested, that you table this vote to have the site plan considered as part of your consideration as to whether you're going to go forward with the conditional use?
Yes, you can table it. In terms of getting further information, it seems like, and I don't mean to editorialize, but it sounds like that's sort of the crux of the issue currently,
Right.
is getting into the numbers a little bit better, apples to apples comparisons. I haven't seen any of these easements. I'm sure they're of record, or will be shortly. By way of background, since it's a legal issue, I'm not testifying here or chiming in, but we do have some adventures with easements, where we've utilized them for cross-access on, a development to another development. Often they run into legal disputes, and next thing you know, they're arguing that someone's violated the terms of an easement, and they're exercising their rights to block ingress and egress. It can create a real mess, certainly. I know that's not the intent, that's not what anyone wants to see happen, but we certainly do. When site development is really conditioned on proper private easements providing cross-access, ingress, egress, or other aspects required for the development, we do want to see those, and we do want to make sure that, often we want to make sure that the city's a party, so that the city has enforcement authority. So we absolutely want to see those things, and because circumstances change and legal disputes occur, and we've seen that, and we've seen the real mess that it happens. And the city's in a situation that frankly it doesn't want to be in, which is, do we try to shut this business down, put people out of work because there's a private dispute, but access has been denied, they're violating the terms of a site development plan approval? It's a difficult situation to do. And so I think ultimately what it's all about is making sure that under, all normal and perhaps the occasional exceptional condition, the site's going to work properly. Yes, the Planning Commission indicated in one of its conditions that it could call up the CUP if things aren't working out there. But again, that means that something bad is happening relative to the motoring public and perhaps the adjacent property owners. And it also puts the city in the position that you've got a brand-new purpose-built facility out there, jobs depend on it, and we're in a situation where we have to engage in enforcement that, potentially could have been avoided. So that's a long way of saying that if council feels that the amount of data that it doesn't have in front of it is insufficient, then by all means, you may want to table it, to do the deeper dive. Certainly, If you do that, I'd encourage you to identify what information you may be looking for. If it exists, either the applicant or the administration, could present it at your next hearing. So there's no rush here, certainly, but a denial of the use, does mean that it would have to wait at least a year prior to reapplication being made. So certainly, I know in my 20-some years with the city, it's been committed to getting it right for everyone, public and private. Thank you.
Mr. President, to echo Mr. Freeman's, and Mr. Krieger heard his comments, and Mr. Zeman, I would move to table for more information.
Second.
Julie, call the roll on the tabling.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
No.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
All right, this is tabled until our
Thank you
next
very
meeting.
much. And any information that the council will work with the law director, any information we're happy to share. My understanding is the easement is similar to the one that was for Sheets that's already been submitted to the city before. But we'll work through all those
Please.
issues.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any other new business?
Still unsure about
Then we shall continue on. Persons before council, we have one tonight. Gene King, if you'd like to come up, give your name, address, and realize you have 4 minutes to speak.
Gene King, 8447 Trimble Court, Mentor. I'm back just when you thought you were rid of me. Mentor's problems go much deeper than City Council's lack of term limits or the ability to actually elect a mayor. The longer someone holds a political office, the more entrenched problems become. To quote Lord Acton, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. One problem I believe City Council has is a conflict of interest involving one City Council member and after the next election, a new City Council member. When Mentor City Council members work for Lake County, their ability to be objective decision makers is impaired by their own interests. When issues arise that overlap the city of Mentor and Lake County, we deserve to have City Council members who advocate only for our interests rather than their own personal interests. City Council members who work for the county would not risk jeopardizing their paycheck to enter into conflict with their bosses, the county commissioners. A clear example of this is the ongoing refusal by the county engineer to replace burned-out streetlight bulbs along Route 2. A former City Council member was the chief deputy engineer for Lake County during a part of this struggle to make Route 2 safer. On the surface, you would think Bruce would have been able to get the job done as an insider, but of course he wasn't about to risk his paycheck. However, he was able to facilitate a nice raise for himself and you all. So if City Council members work for Lake County, ethically they must recuse themselves and abstain from discussing or taking any action on matters involving the county. They therefore are not able to fully function as City Council members. That's a problem. Another problem we were recently reminded of is bullying in Mentor City schools. It sounds like bullying is still going strong in our schools, and we wonder just exactly where children are learning these behaviors. Then we hear reports of bullying at the senior center. We hear about bullying and sexual harassment among city employees, even people in this room. But again, little is done. Bad behavior seems to be the acceptable norm in Mentor. Here's another worry. Mentor is going to have 2 new toys that will require maintenance. We can see taking care of places like Wildwood and the dog park are not high priorities. So we have cause to worry about the safety of the $2 million pool slide and the who knows how much it will cost observation tower. Of course, Mentor is not all bad. Not too many people in other cities can boast that they are able in a matter of 10 minutes or less to jump into their car and be at almost any drive-through window picking up a lovely meal. I'm thrilled to see even more of our tree canopy destroyed at Heisley and Hendricks. I heard a rumor a Sheets is going there. We can never have enough Sheets, right? There's more than 18 acres available at that corner. May I suggest that Mentor doesn't have a Jack in the Box or an In-N-Out burger or Carl's Jr. or even Rally's and Sonic? Since a lot of countries don't like us right now, maybe you could send the Mentor International Trade Initiative to California, the birthplace of fast food. Some cities issue moratoriums on opening more car washes or pot joints. Seriously, maybe you could put a moratorium on allowing any more crap into the city. If you would like to give a tour of Mentor, where would you take visitors? Garfield House is pretty nice, but kind of creepy, and we have a cute little rose garden. But turn off before you get to Old Mentor. Yikes, lots of empty storefronts. Mentor, as Joni Mitchell sadly sang, paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Thank you. All right. I think that's a wrap.
Move to adjourn.
Second.